Hello, darkness, my old friend. We've come to talk to you again. Yes, it is Rangers Four Lads Sunday show. Cheryl, Richie, we picked a good night, didn't we, to come on and talk Rangers. Everybody else is on holiday. Yeah, not much happening. It's great, isn't it?
No, it's going to be a quiet couple hours that we're going to sit here and chat about the game yesterday. Not much else going on in this bin fire that we continue to support.
Yeah, I would love to say it was anything other. We got accused of being negative on this show. I think we're very fucking patient, to be quite honest with you, considering the absolute continued shit show that we continue to watch Rangers Football Club. Kevin Muscat deal is off. He has walked away from the table. The club have changed their tact. Whatever reason you want to believe, it was reported this afternoon that after looking at the recruitment, he doesn't want to be involved anymore. We will find out, I'm sure, in the coming days. But what concerns me, Cheryl, is that is now Steven Gerrard, Kevin Muscat, who've been mightily close to being appointed as the new Rangers manager. They've had a look at it and decided, no, not for us.
Yeah, do you know what? Enough is enough, Stevie. Enough is enough. Get them out. We really need to. We need to remove these two chancellors from the club. I'm going to drag somebody down with me yesterday. I was lucky enough to be at the Museum for Hospitality, and our pod cousin, our good friend Colin McMillan from Heart and Hand, gave us a lift home, and we were kind of chatting through the stuff about Steven Gerrard, speculating as to why exactly things had kind of gone sour at the final bit. And what we both said at that point was, do you know what? It's quite a popular thing. You know, it's Thelwell's an easy target. It's dead easy to say, oh, it's all something to do with Kevin Thelwell. He's not very popular. It's very, very clear tonight from what has happened subsequently that we were both wrong, and it's everything to do with the people who are running the club on a day-to-day basis, and they need to be removed. They need to be no longer part of our club. We spoke, I think, the last time we were on the pod when we were discussing Russell Martin, and one of the key things for me was when somebody had said to him, you know, what have you improved about the club? His answer at the time was, well, you'll need to ask my backroom team. That was because he could not think of anything that he'd improved. I would ask you the same thing of Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell. What have they improved in their time at the club? Over to you, Stevie. Cheers.
I can't. That's the thing. Right, so I spoke about this a wee bit with Rob on Friday night, and I cannot defend Patrick Stewart, and I won't, and I don't want it to turn into a personal vendetta, but I'll repeat what I said on Friday night. Patrick Stewart's leadership of the club since the moment he walked in the door has been nothing short of shambolic. He presided over Philippe Clement staying well beyond what he should have, and subsequently watched us get beat by Queen's Park and then backed the man only to sack him a couple of weeks later. The behaviour over the tifo was nothing short of ridiculous. Once more at half time, he was apologising to members of Celtic Football Club, trying to say things about the banner which weren't true, and that is strike two. And then the recruitment and the hire of Russell Martin in the summer is strike three. Since then, he's been completely quiet on anything that needs leadership to do with Rangers Football Club, including SPFL stuff, and this whole fiasco that he presides over once again as CEO is nothing short of shambolic. Patrick Stewart's time at Rangers Football Club is off, just from the word go. He needs to leave, and pressure should be put on him to leave. That's my own opinion as a Rangers supporter. It's not my opinion as a podcaster or whatever. It's my opinion as a Rangers supporter first and foremost. And that's the biggest thing. As for Kevin Thelwell, I said on Friday night that he's on a yellow card for me because I wasn't sure about recruitment, and I've since had time to think about that, and that is wrong. I apologise to everyone. It's well beyond even a fucking red card. It should be double, triple that in a suspension for a long time. Kevin Thelwell's time at Rangers Football Club has been an absolute bin fire as well. Recruitment has been awful, Cheryl, which we will talk about extensively as we get past this news tonight. But the things that he's done at the football club, even hiring his own son, is beyond negligible. It's just, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's almost like he knows that he's Teflon and nothing will stick to him, and he's bulletproof. Both of these people met Steven Gerrard who was, by the way, 90% coming home. The deal was more or less done. Everybody was reporting that they had a meeting with him, and suddenly Steven Gerrard walked away from the football club. Steven Gerrard's a football man. He knows somebody when he sees them. And now Kevin Muscat, who's also a football man, has met these people and subsequently walked away. Danny Rowe was pissed about by the club, something rotten, has now walked away also. I've got absolutely no idea what is going on with the leadership of the football club. And by the way, Cheryl, see if these things are wrong and we're completely miles away. This is what we are seeing as a support from the outside looking in. These things going wrong consistently all the time under the leadership of them two. And it's extremely hard not to come to the conclusion that they are damaging the football club.
Yeah, I mean, they are massively. They've improved absolutely nothing. I've always said about Patrick Stewart, I think regardless of whether he's an Aberdeen supporter or not, he's worked at Man United, he doesn't get us. That is abundantly clear. He really doesn't get us as a club. He doesn't get us as a support, and he needs to go. And you're right about Thelwell. What I think, and Kenny probably put it far more succinctly than I can in our group chat, Stevie, this whole managerial stuff, it has to stop. The hunt for a new manager. I know that in Chris's statement, he had said that they're still looking to subsequently appoint somebody. It has to stop now. We have to stop this. We have to get an interim manager in, and we have to actually look at the people above the coach, the head coach or the manager, and we need to look at their role, get them replaced, and then put that head coach or that managerial hunt on the go, because our problems aren't even there at the moment. They're far above that. And until we get that right, which we've not at the moment, I have no faith in their ability to bring in the right person. And I'm absolutely flabbergasted. I don't know if you have any ideas. I've seen Stephen Robinson, I've seen Gregory Vignal's name being answered, but who is this person that they're looking to appoint during the week or whatever? Have you heard anything about that?
No, I'm in as much in the dark as anybody else. I genuinely don't know where we go from here. There's all sorts of rumours. Gerrard back in the frame. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's name won't go away. I wish it would, but it won't. There's other names, Stephen Robinson flashing up. I'm told that Rangers are extremely close to appointing somebody, and they will be in place by Thursday. However, we've been told that now for several weeks. Mm-hmm. If they are very close to appointing somebody, what are we doing talking to Gerrard, Rowe, Muscat, etc. so publicly? Even if you look to the side of it and we are close to appointing somebody, and you could argue then that the owners have played this brilliantly because they know who they're going to get or whatever else, the PR surrounding this has been absolutely atrocious. We've failed to control it since word go. We've failed to set the narrative, and we've allowed Gerrard to play out. We've allowed Roll to play out. We've allowed Muscat now to play out very publicly, all in the public eye, and it looks awful. We look incompetent. Whoever now gets this job, Cheryl, you're looking at it going, well, was he 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th choice? Like, who is this guy? And we'll be told, no, he was first choice and he'll be whatever. That's never going to fly. That's never going to, nobody's going to watch that and believe that either. So for the new person coming in, whoever they may be, they're on a hiding to nothing already. Unless, by the way, they knock it out of the park and somehow it is a Gerrard or somebody who we don't know back in the frame or whatever, some magic thing happens. I just don't know where they go from here, because whoever takes this job now looks like they are not only 3rd, 4th, 5th choice, but a yes man for Thelwell, Stewart and things, who Muscat, Gerrard, etc. have looked at it and went, no, we can't work under that circumstances. But whoever comes in potentially looks weak because they are saying, well, I will work under it. And everybody's looking at it saying, well, how can you? Because this is a bin fire.
Yeah, they haven't got anything right, Stevie. I have got no faith in them whatsoever. If you remember, a few weeks ago, we were hearing from Kevin Thelwell that Russell Martin was one of the best coaches that he had ever worked for or worked with or seen in action. So how on earth can we take anything that these guys say seriously? And then you have that open letter that I'd seen that you'd quoted on X, that Kavanagh and Marathi came in and kind of almost swooped in with an apology. Things have actually got worse. since that's been put out there, the kind of message that I got from there was almost an apology for letting these guys go ahead with this. They've messed it up. We're going to swoop in. We're going to get everything sorted out. And since then, we've got even, we've gone into an even further mess, a bigger mess. So I just have absolutely no faith. I have no idea who it is. And like you say, I would be massively concerned that if 3 candidates have looked at this job, looked at who they're going to be working with and said, no, thank you, who is saying yes to it? Is it a yes man? Is it somebody that they've put in place to kind of front things up and they can just carry on in the background? I don't know.
That's the problem, though. That's how it looks. So even if that's not the answer, right? Whoever comes in to this, it looks like an absolute mess from the start. It looks like whoever's accepting it is accepting to work under Thelwell and Patrick Stewart without being able to question what they're doing. So they're just going to be yes men, because when you look at Gerrard looking at it, Muscat looking at it, I come back to the same point. It looks really bad, and it looks like whoever's now coming in is just going to accept the fact that they're going to coach. You're going to be given players in the transfer window, whether you like it or not. You're going to have to deal with it, and your job is to make us better. And then this goes back to the recruitment, Cheryl, and there's already questions regarding what we've done in the summer. I think personally, on that basis, it would be absolutely ludicrous to give Kevin Thelwell more money to be able to go and do more damage to this football club. £40 million upwards are being spent in the summer, we're told, to look like we look, which is a team that's got no leadership, no spine of a team, and somehow spent, on money on Chermiti, which is questionable, money on Fernandez, who we haven't even seen, the loan deals who all look very negligible at best, and it's just, would you trust him? And that's the biggest thing for me with Kevin Thelwell as well, that you can say that guys like Ant-Man, Rothwell, could be good Gassama with better players around them, and I think that's okay. But you've not addressed the major issues in the summer, which we all spoke about, which we all warned about, and these are guys that have been watching it since January. So I don't know if I then trust Kevin Thelwell to go and back another manager in January without. And by the way, the bigger picture here is we're back in the same position that we are always in, which is the season's more or less over league-wise. So the pressure will be off. Do they lure themselves into a false sense of security? We're left with 6 months waiting until the season finishes again, and we say, oh, well, they've done okay because there's no pressure on, and maybe Tav can go another year, maybe Raskin will sign a new deal, maybe, XYZ is the answer. Because that's what always happens. We get stuck in this same route, in this same rut all the time, and we're back here again. And by the way, it's not even November yet. It gets earlier and earlier every year. It's so hard not to be despondent at the same movie getting played all over again.
Yeah. But do you know what, Stevie? It's the same things that we've been pointing out for a long time, and I know they wanted to give Russell Martin a chance, but we all knew that his style of football wouldn't work up here. We've been crying out for leaders for a very, very, very long time. Even yesterday, we've seen a slight improvement yesterday, but we're desperate for leaders, particularly at the back. There is nobody that is willing to take the game by the scruff of the neck. We went 2-1 down yesterday. Tav dug us out, he does quite often, but we're desperate for guys there that can change a game, that can pull everybody else up by the scruff of the neck. We had that in parts last season, we're asking, but one of the things that we all said that we really needed was, we have our player trading models, our younger guys, we know that's essential for moving the club forward, but what we were really missing and what we still don't have and what we needed desperately at the beginning of the season was leaders. He hasn't done anything with that. I referenced it the last time we spoke about Connor Cody coming in the summer. That's the kind of person that we needed. I know he's not done particularly well where else he is, but he hasn't addressed any of the major problems that everybody else seen that we still had at the beginning of the season. I don't trust him. I am very old-fashioned in terms of I prefer a manager. I know a lot of clubs in football nowadays are going with that head coach. But if you have a head coach, you need a really, really strong director of football. You need somebody that's there to take control of things, to stand up, to make these really strong choices. We don't have that, and I don't trust any of his judgment whatsoever. Like we said at the beginning of the pod, absolutely nothing has improved.
This is the biggest thing. I mean, I don't want it to be a show tonight that comes on and we just concentrate on Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart. But it's really hard to get away from that. And the whole optics around how this looks to everybody else outside. I'll remind everybody of the words that Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marathi said when they made a statement after firing Russell Martin. And in it was key. It says, "We know you are frustrated. We are too. We did not get this right, and it's our responsibility to fix it and get us back on track." I'm sorry, but 2 weeks later, putting a youth coach in for a vital league game is not fixing it. Being so publicly humiliated in a managerial hunt is not fixing it. Being not in the country while this is all going on in league games and things like that, I'm sorry, is not fixing it. Putting people in charge of the football club that have clearly demonstrated time and time again that they don't understand the magnitude of Rangers Football Club is not fixing it, Cheryl. So the question then becomes Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marathi based, because remove Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart, they're being empowered by these people to go and do this job. So when does the attention now turn to the owners? Andrew Kavanagh, chairman, Parag Marathi, vice chairman. Kavanagh has bought the club along with investors who include the 49ers and everybody else that's in that. When do we start to ask questions of the Americans and say, are they in the wrong movie? And are these the wrong people leading our football club? Because, by the way, 5 months in, it does not look great.
No. And again, you would almost ask the same question of them. What has improved? Absolutely nothing. As far as I'm aware, Stewart wasn't their appointment, was he? To my knowledge, he was kind of brought in to manage the transition between the two boards, to have an in-depth look. Well, what's happened with this in-depth look at the club, the under-the-bonnet stuff that he was going to be in charge of? Because we've heard nothing, absolutely nothing of that. So I don't imagine he would be particularly difficult to get rid of. But obviously, Thelwell was their appointment. I think the attention has to turn to them in the next couple of weeks. We need to look at how things are panning out and look at the appointment, if there is an appointment made. But I think now is the time, really, Stevie, that the attention has to turn to them. They have to know how unhappy we are, and they must see from themselves. Like I said earlier, I almost felt that open letter from the both of them was a kind of hands up apology. We've got it wrong by leaving these two in charge. We'll make sure that everything from now on in is sorted and is run professionally. That hasn't happened.
I struggle to believe that they spent 70 million on a football club, put money in the summer. They have ideas to improve Ibrox, the footprint, the big ideas, by the way, extending capacity, doing a lot of work to Ibrox. It's all in their game plan. And this is where they have visions of what they want to do with the football club and everything else. I struggle to understand, one, how they made the Russell Martin appointment against such a backdrop of negativity that was clear that it wasn't going to work from word go. I struggle to find out why they put trust in Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell to do all this. Greta Steinson's supposed to be the link man. What is his role in everything else as well? And these, to me, just suddenly become how valid it is. And what I mean by that is that I don't understand their thinking. The problem I've got is, and what I tried to say this afternoon on X, and by the way, folks, this is really difficult to do. Sitting with thousands of people watching this, and it's really difficult not just to scream into a pillow and go, this is a fucking shit show. And I can't tell you my frustration surrounding it. So try to ask Cheryl this stuff. It's really difficult, honestly. Cheryl, what I'm trying to say is I just don't understand why they would do all that and put all that into the football club and have all these grand plans to make such big errors in who they've appointed to do it and the people that they've empowered and in charge to do it. And from that, looking out and looking in, my biggest issue with that then is, if they are so entrenched in their beliefs that Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell are the right people, this cycle's just going to continue, because they're not capable. And if they are capable, we certainly aren't seeing it.
No, and I don't, Stevie, I don't see any kind of way that they can carry on. They can keep those two men in their jobs, because it's an absolute bin fire. It's laughable, and it's absolutely ridiculous if you think that this time last week we were all absolutely devastated about the fact that Steven Gerrard wasn't coming. We were led to believe it was a done deal. There was arrangements in place for the stadium to open on Monday. It was good to go. I did not think I could feel worse than I did last Saturday night. It's worse. It's worse now than it was last Saturday night. It's a joke. It's a shambles, and it is not going to change until these two guys are removed from the position that they're in. All I can hope is that there's things going on behind the scenes. I refuse to believe, if you look at the pedigree, if you look, one of the things that I feel most sad about is when I think back to last February, we were on a breaking news pod on a Monday night. All the news was starting to filter out about the takeover and how refreshing it was going to be. One of the things we all spoke about was professionally managed, to be managed by a group that have that sporting expertise, that have that experience in British football through Leeds, that are going to be able to come in and take us to the next level. We're in a worse state than we were with the last board. And the last board, at least, you could argue they were too reactionary to the things that we wanted. They were too emotionally involved. But we are now in a worse state than we were with them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't even know what to say. I think maybe divert slightly, talk about yesterday. We'll come back to the management, share a wee bit of a clear head, I think, as we try and dissect everything that's coming out at this moment in time. Yesterday, first half, as good as I've seen Rangers in a very long time. 20 odd shots at goal, moved it well, players playing in the position, looked like they knew what they were doing. Everybody working in sync. We looked full of energy. Stadium, you can tell stadium desperate to get behind the players, desperate to get behind something. Everybody was feeling good. 1-0 at half time, we all said that's probably as good as we've seen in a long time. And if Stevie Smith can do that, no disrespect to Stevie Smith, it shows you how bad things have been in the past. So felt quite good. Asgard looked really good. Gassama, Ant-Man causing issues. Rothwell done really well. Raskin dominating. And we saw a really good 45 minutes. Concentrating the first half first. That's probably the best we've seen in a very long time. And that, I know that the bar's incredibly low, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm literally about to say, Stevie, low bar there, but you're right. Aye, absolutely. They just looked like they were playing with a lot more freedom. Obviously, the restrictions were off in terms of constantly trying to play it out from the back. Asgard looked like a different player. He was playing more further forward, more freedom. I think in the first 5 minutes, we were actually up in Dundee United's box more than we had been the entire season. Do you know what I mean? We were attacking, we were going at them. It's just that plenty of chances, but just not being able to take those chances. And it was disappointing to go in at 1-0 up, because you really felt with that first half, with the performance and the way that I celebrated that goal as well. Do you know, it was the relief and actually some of these players are nowhere near as bad as they've been made to look over the last few weeks. So it was excellent. I thought we'll probably come on to him a wee bit later. I thought Miovski was maybe a wee bit unfortunate, but he didn't get the service that he needs to be able to score. But I wasn't concerned, certainly at half time. I thought they looked excellent.
So did I. And I was sitting thinking, go and build on it. And then those that watched the vlog from yesterday would have seen me and Stu say that I started to get really concerned round about 60 odd minutes, because I just felt like we had lost our momentum. We couldn't get that same level. There was fouls disrupting. United became scrappy. Something else happened. I don't know if anyone's seen this. And people can tell me in the comments. Nico Raskin stopped getting involved in the game and became more intent on trying to fight Craig Sibbald. I think it is. Who's the boy that scored the second goal for Dundee United?
Sibbald, yeah.
Sibbald. He became embroiled with him. Every free kick, every set piece, they started scrapping with each other and pushing, and it put him off completely. And Rangers lost their way because Nico was controlling everything up until that moment. And for 15 mad minutes, Rangers lost completely their way, which was coming. And we've seen it. And Jack Butland commented on it, which we'll talk about as well. We don't have any leaders. We don't have anybody in that team who can foresee that and react to it before it's coming and say, we need to put our foot in the ball here. We need to play our way back in. We need to dominate the ball for a bit, knock it about at the back, just get back into it 100%, and then we can start pressing and going again. We don't. Everybody looks to the person next to them and goes, are you going to do something about this? And nobody has the balls and the skill to be able to do it. Now, I've been spoiled in my lifetime. Barry Ferguson would grip a game like that and just strangle it and control it and dominate it and start setting the tempo again. Then I had Stephen Davis doing it 100%. He used to do it. And we don't have anyone that's able to do that. What we do have is a team that are full of players that need leaders and need quality players around them, and we don't have it. Now, seen somebody there saying it in the comments, and I won't bring it up or comment on it, about Nico Raskin's ability. Nico Raskin goes and dominates games for Belgium. So I think that says enough about if he's looking to his left and right and there's nobody there, then we need more off Nico Raskin as well as we need off everybody else. I understand that. But we've got a load of players. I refuse to believe, and I'll keep saying it, that Asgard, Ant-Man, Gassama, Rothwell are bad players. I do not believe that in the slightest. But they need better players around them, and we don't have it. The back line is a complete mess. The midfield setup is a mess. And you can see that once Dundee United put an extra man in the middle, they just started popping it off. They started winning the second balls. They started dominating. And then they went from there. And obviously they scored 2 goals. And unbelievably, well, not unbelievably, actually, because this is Rangers and this is the way we've been going. We find ourselves on 1-up, dominating, best performance in a very long time, to 2-1 down within 15-minute period of the second half. Cheryl, the drop-off between being good and being that level is just scary to watch.
It is, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier, though, Stevie. We've been in dire need of leaders for, 3 years? 2-3 years. This is a recurrent problem that has not been addressed by any of the managers or any of the boards, that the subsequent board. We're crying out for leaders. Tav popped up and dug us out, but in terms of a leader that'll G everybody up, that, like you say, like Barry Ferguson, that'll grab the game by the scruff of the neck, there was nobody. I've seen it mentioned in the comments. I thought Rothwell had his best game for us. I know, again, that the bar is pretty low, but I think he kind of, again, with the restrictions removed that Russell Martin had put on him, he was driving us forward, he was driving the ball forward, but we know that he can only last about 60 minutes. I thought the midfield actually in the first half worked really, really well together, but Dundee United, Jim Goodwin did that in the last game at Tannadice as well. He changed things in the second half and we had no response to it. We weren't able to deal with his changes, and like you say, they moved that extra person in midfield and we were lost. I don't think Gassama, I'm going to disagree with you slightly on Gassama. I don't think he had his best game, but when he was removed, that really kind of strangled us as well. Chermiti, somebody needs to look at that. Somebody needs to look at the deal with Chermiti. God knows what's happened there. And I actually feel really, really sorry for him, because I said yesterday he looked like somebody who'd won a competition to go and play on the pitch for 90 minutes. He just doesn't look like a footballer. How Kevin Thelwell's got away with that, I will never know. I do believe that at one point the Everton fans were talking very highly of him. I don't know if that was behind their hands as they were laughing at the 8 million transfer fee, but he just doesn't look like a footballer. I think yesterday for me, I don't know what you think, Stevie, we're still relying on moments of magic. That Asgard goal was absolutely brilliant, but we're not kind of creating and taking regular chances. We're still looking for somebody that's going to step up and do what Asgard did yesterday. There was nothing up front. And I made the point, I don't know how Miovski stayed on for the whole game, but what's the alternative? You're bringing, if you're taking him off, you're bringing on Chermiti. That's not going to work.
Before we get to talk about Miovski and Chermiti and things like that, I need to highlight the back line, in particular the left back area. We have sold Ridvan, Robbie Fraser and Jeffy and brought in a young fullback who has played 20 odd games and looks every bit like a young fullback who is miles out of his depth. Meg Homa, I'm sorry, is miles away from being Rangers standard. He is consistently caught out by a long ball. He is consistently positionally really awful. Cornelius next to him plays like he's in first gear the whole game. Everything's relaxed. He strolls about. Defensively, he's okay. On the ball, Costa's second goal again, stepped up, try and play it out. We lose the ball, and it all comes from that moment. Not the first time he did it during the game. John Souttar, I think we've done John Souttar about 100 times. James Tavernier on the right-hand side. Listen, Tav's miles away from where he used to be. I think that's absolutely fair. But again, has to dig us out. And we can all talk about James Tavernier to death, and we have done. Should have been gone last summer. Should have been going this summer. Once again, James Tavernier digs us out. That's the levels we're currently at. The whole defence is a mess. And it shows you, we were split apart. The boy goes 1-on-1. Jack Butland saves it. The ball loops out. The boy takes it down his chest. Sybil gets it, turns in his left foot, turns it in. We are not there. We're not pressing. We're not tackling. No. We're not even going to close down. Nobody does it.
He has all the time in the world, though, Stevie. If you watch it, the world. Yeah. So,
we do manage to dig it out, and we go to 2-2. And I said to Stu at the time as well, I said, that is it. We'll not get any more. And we still had 10 minutes left, by the way. Dundee United should win it in the last kick of the ball. The boy slips as he shoots, and he shoots just wide. And it just, I think that summed us up. This is Rangers at this very moment in time. We're more capable of losing a game than we are winning it, Cheryl.
Absolutely. And I was the same as you, Stevie. You're kind of hoping, but it's more out of hope than expectation that we could then go on and get a third goal. I thought his subs, I thought when Connor Barron came on, the goal kind of started from him and then Mikey Moore with the assist. But those should have been made maybe, 10, 15 minutes earlier, when it was very clear that Dundee United had changed their tactics and had, we didn't really have a response to that. Those subs should have been made much earlier.
Subs were wrong as well. Taking off Gassama to put on Chermiti and moving Asgard left completely knackered everything. And I understand why Stevie did it to go 4-4-2. Gassama had to stay on because he was out ball. And I know that he'd faded in the game slightly, but Asgard was well out of the game. And he doesn't have the skill, perhaps like Gassama does. He's not a ball carrier as such, or not like Gassama is as a natural ball carrier wide man. So I just thought that completely disrupted us altogether. I understand why he did it, to get two up front, Cheryl, but I think what you're saying about the subs, that moment to take Gassama off, I think has to be Mikey Moore, or it has to be only Curtis that comes on, because when you don't do that, we just look, and we kept, by the way, we were going down that side the whole time, and when we took him away, we just didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I think I liked Barron coming on, Stevie. I thought he gave us a wee bit more dig and a wee bit more urgency. And actually, as much as we've all been maligning Mikey Moore, he got that assist and he kept going as well.
Mikey Moore's a good player. Yeah. He will be a good winger. Maybe not for us, but he will be a good player. But I just think that the way he's been used, not the only one. Ant-Man, by the way, looked a lot different yesterday. I just thought at that time, if you're bringing Gassama off, we still needed an out ball. We still needed legs. When Asgard came on, it just completely killed it all. And I understand going 4-4-2. I get it. We were 2-1 down at a time. I think one each at a time. I understand completely, but it killed us.
Yeah.
So from there, Stevie Smith in the press conference was as pragmatic as he could be. Taking training today, we know about the real interesting one was Jack Butland. Jack Butland, I'll read out a few things he said. I have to be careful how I say things, but the truth and the reality of it, that's what the fans are seeing. It has to happen the rest of the week. He's talking about mentality. It can't be turned on for match day. It has to be done every day. It can't be occasionally in training. It's a mentality of winning and desire. It doesn't have to be pretty at times. That should have been a 1-0 on Saturday, worst case scenario. If it gets scrappy, you put bodies on the line. So what? You come away with 3 points, but at the minute, we're not showing that we have enough of that. That's ultimately what the club needs first and foremost. See, to me, reading in between the lines, that reference is to both goals where we allowed 2 shots from outside our box, and we're not trying to block. We're not putting ourselves on the line. We're not doing anything like that. I felt sorry for Butland yesterday again. I think without him this season, we would be in a hell of a bad place, and we're in a hell of a bad place as it is. But those comments are spot on. He's more or less telling you that the people in the dressing room don't have the mentality that's needed.
No, but we know that. We know that as well. And good for him for saying it. We know that he didn't have his problems to seek last season. And again, it's a very low bar. But I think as it stands, Stevie, he's our player of the season so far. He kept us in it yesterday. And I think at least he's speaking honestly. But for all these comments that he comes out and makes, that there's still no change, there's still no leadership. And until we make those signings, there's nothing there, Stevie. We've seen flashes of it with Nico Raskin. You know, Jack Butland talks a good game, and that's brilliant. And listening to that today, yeah, you're nodding along with it, but nothing changes essentially. I'm sure it'll be the same statement or the same comments as we go further along the season. We need to see these changes. We need to have these leaders coming in. And my worry is if we go for an interim boss, or thinking about it when it was going to be Neil McCann and Kevin Muscat, who's going to get a tune out of these players? They've seen off so many managers, and you can argue that, you know, that different players have come and gone, but there's still that core there. It doesn't matter who the manager is. They will see them off. We get maybe a 1 game or a 2 game manager bounce, and then they just revert to type.
Sadly, I asked him on the banner. Everybody would have seen the banner. For those that didn't see it, the banner read, and I'll just find it to read it out. Of course, I've probably, yeah, there it is. There it says, "No more buses to hide on," in reference to the players at Falkirk. "No more managers to hide behind. Face your failures like men." I read that out to Jack Butland, and I asked him his thoughts on it. And he said, "I can only speak for myself here. I put myself out there. I'm here now. I'm speaking to people. I hope I'm saying what people want to hear. I can't repeat what was said in the changing room, but I'd like to think the messages would echo the opinions of the fans and what they expect. I feel it, and I want this place to be as special as it can. I've no qualms with it because they're entitled to their opinion, and to be honest, it's reasonably factual at the minute. What they're seeing is not good enough. So as players, it's a challenge, and you have to face it. The only way we can face it is by putting in performances. That's all they want to see." I feel sorry for Jack in some ways that he has to answer that, but it was relevant to ask him what he thought of it. He's got no qualms with it. The problem is, as fans, we've heard that the only way we can change it is by putting performances and winning games now for the last God knows how long. And it's becoming a bit tiresome for everyone, Cheryl, when you look at it and see them do the same thing week after week.
I know, and therein lies the problem, Stevie, because what's going to change with that? Absolutely nothing. And I think Jack Butland spoke very well, but it's the soundbite that, like I say, we'll hear again and again and again, because nothing is changing. Absolutely nothing is changing. There was, if we want to be generous, there was a small improvement yesterday, but not enough to beat Dundee United at home. And that is absolutely criminal. And I can't see it changing anytime soon, unfortunately.
No, and I don't think it will, because it goes back to having the right players in the spine of the team. We don't have any leadership there. We don't have anybody that's capable of managing games. You've seen it so many times now, even at Livingston. Livingston was almost a carbon copy of what we saw yesterday, being a goal up, being relatively in charge, creating chances, should be 2. We don't get a second, and there's nobody to manage the game. There's nobody to take it by the scruff of the neck, as we've talked about before. So for me, these results will just continue and continue, Cheryl. Moving on, or moving back to tonight's, obviously, I don't want to say it, it's a complete mess of a situation with the manager. Sources at Rangers are saying that Muscat deal broke down as he wouldn't leave immediately and come immediately. Rangers wanted that. Muscat camp is saying that he told them from the start that would not be the case, and they would be seeing out, and that was never an issue. And basically he wasn't prepared to do it without any control over recruitment. Now, it's up to you what you choose to believe. Rangers are obviously going to try and manage that, which is what I was saying about PR from the very, very start about, you know, that should have been out. If Rangers were concerned about that from the very start, that should have been the word go. Yes, news is broke. We've got no chance, we've no other option but to respond to this, but we're only talking to him as a candidate at this moment in time. There may be issues with him being able to come to us straight away, which wouldn't suit us. That kind of stuff should be put out there. It should be, you set the narrative. You don't go with it, balls out, and let everybody do what they've been doing, and then it looks like it looks now. The other issue I've got with that is Muscat camp saying that they have no control over recruitment. Steven Gerrard mirrors exactly what people close to him were saying about why he walked away and why the timing wasn't right for him, because he didn't like the situation he was going to have to work under. And this goes back to exactly what we said at the top of the show when we spoke about it. You can decide what you want to believe, and everybody's free to make up their own mind, and that's absolutely fine by me. But for me, what Rangers Football Club are all intents and purposes looking for, or what Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart are looking for, is a coach that is a yes man and will do exactly what they want with the resources they provide them, with the signings they provide them, everything else like that. And their job is to coach and deal with that only. And that is really difficult to get away with, or sorry, to get away from as an opinion as a supporter.
I think we touched on it earlier, Stevie, just the massive concerns around recruitment so far. If you're Steven Gerrard, if you're Danny Rowell, if you're Kevin Muscat, and you're being told that you won't have as much control over recruitment, and then you look at who has already been brought in by the person that you're going to be working with, of course you're going to walk away. Why would you give that control over to somebody who's proven to us in a very short space of time that his judgment in terms of recruitment, in terms of what we need, is absolutely piss poor? You wouldn't do that. I can't blame these guys for walking away, because look at what they're going to have to be working with. The recruitment, by and large, if you're being generous, I suppose you could say 50-50, but large parts of the recruitment has been absolutely dire.
Yeah, and it's difficult to, again, look, I don't know what to say to this other than, you know, we don't like coming on here being negative. And what I would rather do is be positive. I would rather have talked about, you know, where the club is going. I'd rather Russell Martin had made a really good start to his career at Rangers and he was proving us all wrong. I'd rather that things were a lot more positive. But the truth is, we will call it how we see it. At the moment in time, it is really hard to feel anything other than completely disconnected with Rangers Football Club. And I've been following them and going everywhere for the best part of 35 years. I joked earlier on that some of the players that I watched yesterday give me hope, and I'm turning 42 next week. And that's how it feels sometimes. They feel like they're a million miles away from the standard of what we should be, understanding where we should be. And as for the leadership of the football club, I can only repeat what I said before when I talk about Patrick Stewart, when I talk about Kevin Thelwell, when I talk about how we've managed this managerial situation. It's because it's what I see as a supporter looking in. And it looks shambolic. It looks like it is really poorly run. It looks like we're just a clusterfuck from top to bottom. And it's really difficult as a supporter, and we're all emotional and we get hyperbolic and things get, you know, over dramatic. It's really difficult not to believe that, Cheryl.
You're right, Stevie. There's nothing that's going right. There's nothing from this takeover. I mentioned it earlier, the hope that we had around it. We knew that the old board had taken us with the best of intentions as far as they could. We knew that financially there was nothing else that they could do for us. We needed an overhaul. We need everything around the club needed looked at, and that's what we were promised was going to happen. Everything around the stadium, from everything down to the academy, there was going to be this under the bonnet review. Nothing was going to be spared. And like I say, we're in a far worse position, and it almost beggars belief that all the hope that we've had around this has been completely and utterly wasted. I don't think it's unsalvageable, but I think for us to be able to move forward, you need to have these guys removed from their positions.
Yeah, I think as we wrap up, I think the last thing I'll say is that I spoke a lot about Russell Martin in his tenure here and being the wrong person for the job. I can't help but feel that Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart are miles out their depth running Rangers Football Club. It's difficult to get away from that as a supporter. And again, it'll come to the things that are going on that make it seem so transparent that these guys are the problem. Kevin Muscat, once again, echoing what Steven Gerrard has said as they both walk away both football men having a peek under the bonnet. I think Patrick Stewart needs to leave Rangers Football Club immediately. I think Kevin Thelwell needs to follow him pretty quickly. And even if that's not true, and even if we're wrong as a support, the problem now that they have is the support now thoroughly believe that. And that is the mindset of the support. And before that goes away, you're going to need to change that. And I don't think that, and we've seen it, by the way, that Rangers fans don't change their mind quickly and they don't do it easily. So for them, their time at this football club is up, regardless of what happens. My biggest fear now is for who comes in, because it will look like, and it does look like to me, like they are completely yes men for who is currently in charge of the football club. If it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, if it's Slaven Bilic, if it's Stephen Robinson, if by some means, by miracle, Steven Gerrard has somewhat come back into the frame, we don't know at this very minute in time. It just looks like they've defaulted back to whatever they're prepared to work under. I would love a miracle in the Steven Gerrard working in, I really would. But until, that happens, I just feel like it's going to be a situation where whoever comes in will face the same kind of atmosphere that Russell Martin faced at the very start of it, which was a fan base that doesn't believe in them, doesn't believe in the owners, doesn't believe in the people that put them in there. And ultimately, as soon as that goes south, which it will, because we don't have the players that are capable, which goes back to Kevin Thelwell, we'll start getting on the back. So this cycle is just going to keep continuing all the time, Cheryl.
Yeah, absolutely. We've said it throughout the whole pod, and like you say, Stevie, we don't want to come over as negative. This is our views as supporters, but we can only talk about what we're seeing, and what we're seeing is absolutely dire. So for me, it just makes absolute sense that Kevin Thelwell is no longer part of his club, part of our club. Sorry. He hasn't done anything to improve anything since he's been here. The recruitment's been absolutely dire. His relationship with the fans is at an all-time low. His recruitment and subsequent backing of Russell Martin was a massive mistake. And my concern, similar to yourself, is anybody that comes in and is willing to say yes to these guys, you would have to seriously doubt their ability to manage us and take us to the next level.
It's as simple as that, I'm afraid, folks. I would love to sit here and say otherwise. I would love to try and talk about positives. Rangers have played 8 league games. We've drawn 6, lost 1 and won 1. That's abysmal. That, by the way, I remember Walter in his second season drew 3 games in a row and there was people calling for his head. I remember leaving Kilmarnock. I'm pretty sure that it was a 0-0 early Saturday morning game and John Fleck played. Somebody got sent off. I can't remember who. And it was 0-0 and people were going apoplectic at Walter Smith. And that was Walter Smith. And I just feel like where we are at this moment, it's almost like a kind of recurring nightmare. Rangers go through the same cycle and we're going through it again. Said in the summer, this can't be a summer where we rebuild and it has to be another rebuild. It's going to have to be another rebuild, not only in the football department, but also throughout the football club. It's just... it doesn't seem to ever end. I don't know who's going to come in the coming days. I do not know who's going to take over Rangers Football Club. I don't even know who I want. My choices were Gerrard, Muscat, McInnes type. Whoever comes in now, Cheryl, I just don't know who it will be. There's talk of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Slaven Bilic, Stephen Robinson. I don't know how true any of these are. That's the thing. We really don't know. We're going to put you on the spot a wee bit. And by the way, it's a really difficult question. Who would you take now to come in and do this job?
I honestly don't know, Stevie, because again, like I've just said, my worry would be somebody that was willing to come in and take direction from Thelwell in terms of recruitment, etc. Somebody that would take that job knowing that the kind of mess that we're in and the mess that they've made alone, and is willing to come in and work with that and take instruction from that. I know we spoke about Stephen Robinson. I would prefer that he went elsewhere before he came to... I think he's done a great job at St Mirren. I would prefer he maybe had another job elsewhere, perhaps down south, before he came to us. Do you know what's really stark? We're almost at the stage of saying beggars can't be choosers. That's why I know Kenny said it, and I fully agree with him. stopping this absolute shambles, this shit show, getting an interim or a caretaker, I can never ever say that, caretaker manager in till the end of the season, and an interim boss, and actually getting the process done properly, starting with the people above the manager, getting those roles filled properly, and then you look at your manager. I don't think it will happen. If they're saying they're going to appoint in the next few days, I have no idea who it is, and I'm actually at the stage where I have no idea who I would want.
Yeah, my biggest fear is, and it's no disrespect to some of these guys that I'm about to mention, and you always run the risk of somehow they come in and they do a wonderful job. My biggest fear is somebody like a Gary O'Neill or a Michael Carrick or an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who they will come in immediately with everyone thinking, oh, well, great, how long is this going to last? And then, you go to come to Ibrox next week and they get a draw or whatever, and it just starts all over again. Braga on Thursday night. It's just like, where does it end? You need to figure at least that you can get some hope in. Some of the names that are being flung about and mentioned don't give me hope. No. And then you're going, and this is a completely disrespectful thing to say, and it's not meaning to. I really like Stephen Robinson at St Mirren. I really like him. I think he's a great coach. I think he sets his team up well. I think he organises it and everything else. And he should be the type of person that we look at. But you're now going, when you hear all the names being put about, God, I hope we can go and get Stephen Robinson or something. And that's completely disrespectful to him, because he should be there on merit and by the job and the type of person he is and the capabilities he has. You're not. You're going, Jesus, I hope we get him instead of getting Michael Carrick or somebody like that. And as you said, but we're in no position to actually sit here and go, beggars can't be choosers, because you're right. We're now staring at an embarrassing situation being played out in public that 3 managers have walked away from this job. It is difficult. It really is to say anything otherwise, Cheryl, than come on and be honest. But I really appreciate you doing that. Thank you for your time this evening. 15,000 people watching us on Sunday night, trying to make head nor tail of the absolute shambles that is Rangers Football Club.
I know, and like you said earlier, Stevie, all you and I can do is come on and give our opinions, and not everybody is going to agree with them. I think this is the most difficult pod that I have done, because there's no answers. There's nothing that you and I can say, I think, at this moment that's going to make anything any better, from the top to the bottom. Behind the scenes, on the pitch, we are a massive mess, and there's nothing that you and I can do to make that or sound any better or offer any answers. Well, we can just offer our opinions. But I would like to thank everybody for the very generous and the very kind comments as well. Like I said, not everybody is going to agree with us, but the comments tonight have been brilliant. So thank you very much, everybody, for all your interactions and all your kind words.
Yeah, I echo that. Some of the donations and comments and new members, and that we really appreciate. If you want to become a new member, you can. You will see the wee QR code up in the top corner. Just highlight that with your phone. You can come and join us for as little as 99p a month to get some extra shows, and basically you're helping the podcast become what it is, and we really, really thank you for that. If you haven't, please like and subscribe. That really, really helps. It helps the podcast grow. I think we're well over 11,000 subs now and growing rapidly. So thank you. Huge thanks to our Sunday show sponsor, iSport Media, John and the team over there. Thank you so much for everything that you do. To our regular sponsors of the show, Rhino Express, Clydeview, Athlon Industrial Solutions, CST Air Conditioning. Thank you to everyone. Black Rooster and Art of Gold. We really appreciate you as well. Cheryl, thank you again. Much appreciated, my friend.
Thanks, Stevie. Thanks, everyone.
Well, guess what? We'll be back on Monday night, because why wouldn't we be? Where would we rather be than, just talking misery about Rangers every single night? No, we, of course, want to try and get some news. We'll bring it to you that when it comes. Hopefully, that will come in the coming days. We'll be live on Monday night, 7 o'clock, Monday Club, as usual. Davey and myself will be on discussing all the latest. You may be asking for we're regular. Andrew Anderson's on holiday, as is Kenny. Guys are away, so I am back from my holidays. Scott's also away, so is Doogie, which is why the Sunday show is a bit depleted this week. Rob was on with me on Friday, so we're kind of shifting people about a wee bit. Got a few new podders starting as well. Amrit Dillon's going to be on in a few weeks, starting with us. Amrit goes everywhere supporting Rangers, so he'll be on with us. We're really looking forward to him starting. And yeah, that's basically it. So, folks, have a good Sunday evening. Hope you all have a good night. Join us again tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Thanks, everybody, once again. Take care.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.